Hello, my name is Cynthia and welcome to my Flosstube channel. I'm happy to be here with you today. It's Friday, December 31st, 2021, the last day of the year. I had counted all of the finishes I had made in 2021. I may make one more squeak through tonight, but it's probably going to be tomorrow. So I went ahead and decided to film. I've written down all of the different things I sewed, embroidered, punched, and cross-stitched over the last 12 months. I had accumulated quite a few things. I have a count here that stopped at about 40, and then I found more things when I looked again. So I know I'm over 50. Many of them are small things. Many of them were things that I have worked on for a couple of years. So not all of them were done in this 1 year's time. It's just kind of a testament of just being consistent and continuing to create. You really do accumulate quite a lot of things. I have some of them in other locations, like the largest Halloween rules that I showed you last fall is too big to haul upstairs right now. And then I realized I've left a few things. So I will insert photos of those, but I just wanted to share with you all the different things that I made in the last year. So let's go ahead and get started with the Build a Snowman sal that I did for 2021. I am hosting another sal for 2022. Looks like I'm kind of caught there. And this was the first snowman sal that we made with about 5 or 6 friends on YouTube and Instagram. Several of you have already said you'd like to join in with my 2022 snowman sal. You can look at my last video for details about that. And it will be starting in January and going throughout the entire month. So this was from Liberty Creek Primitives. I sewed these from Warm and Natural Batting. The pattern is on Etsy, and I believe it's still available. It was really simple, and I still need to fiddle with it a little. It's supposed to have some pine evergreens around it, but I had just taken it out of the box, so I haven't got it all set up. But I do like these pip berries, P-I-P. They came from Hobby Lobby. They look a little bit like swirling snow, and it's in an old antique box. I was going to try to find another box. The rabbits I made, I'll have to insert a photo, also shared this box, and I wanted them to have their own, and I went back to get one I had found at an antique mall and it was gone. So I'll have to keep my eye open. I want to find another box so that they don't have to keep coming in and out, because it is hard to kind of get them situated. But they are so cute and they look very sweet when they're lit up. The pattern called for that lamp. That wasn't my idea. I got the primitive candle on Amazon. The next thing I made has memories for me because I was very ill while I was stitching this. It was directly after returning home from the hospital with COVID. I had pneumonia and I was on oxygen for almost a month. So I had some sort of bitter memories with this, but I do love the way it turned out. It was very primitive by Not Forgotten Farm. It's called Parson Brown. I changed some of the colors. It only comes with like 4 colors. An ecru, kind of charcoaly color, and then I used Twilight by Weeks. I like to do teal for Christmas things, and the finishing is really wonky because I remember I couldn't go upstairs when I was sick. But I do like this kind of homespun bow with some burlap and an old rusty bell. So there's Parson Brown by Not Forgotten Farm, a very cute pattern. I think it's PDF. I think that's where I got it, and I just set it up in my window this morning. I haven't gotten all that put together for my winter displays, but I'll show you that in my next Flosstube. I also made a snowman from Heart and Hand, and this one is kind of part of a series for me. I have Leggy Swimmer. This is Leggy Snowman, and he is very small and cute. I used some more of that Weeks Twilight. I just kind of copied the colors. I like my snowmen to have a Valentine theme. That way I can leave them out for January and February. And this one had such a sweet little heart and the love below. So I had shown you a finish of the Santa mug on this same display. It has the same snowflake. All you have to do is just pop out the magneted, oh, that's like a refrigerator magnet I used on there. Apparently I was low, but it works just fine and it's real small. So that was a fun little finish as well for snowmen. And then I have some Valentines to share. These were some cross stitch, some I made up, some that were freebies on Pinterest that I found. For instance, this Love Never Fails is one of my favorites by, I think that's the Primitive Hair. A lot of people have stitched this. I've seen it stitched in blue and in black and in just about any color you like. It's so cute. And I used some red wool at the bottom and my French General fabric on the back. I made an entire display of these and I put them in my TV cabinet all year long because it was my 25th anniversary year in 2021. We were married in 96. So I kind of made a display with this little guy from the Brenda Keyes sampler motif book. It had these little guys holding hands or this little couple. And I thought it was so funny because they have such long, wonky arms. But I put the year charm on there and some more of that wool and then a heart on the back. So that was just a fun little filler, kind of like a little, I put it in a bowl with some buttons and a picture of us when we were, I think, on our honeymoon in 1996. So it was fun. And then here's a Valentine one. This one didn't get stuffed quite as full, but I still like it. Same Primitive Hair design. I believe that's on her blog. If you search Primitive Hair, let me know if you have trouble finding any of these. And I'm using a lot of different scrap fabrics for these small pieces. Looks like some linen and then some even weave, and this is Ada. So I just use whatever I have, and I try to kind of coordinate it with a little bit of RIT tan over dye, or it looks like this might be coffee too, some instant coffee. So just kind of primitive. But I think those are pretty. And those count as 3 finishes. I also made a whole bunch of these hearts with rusty bells and buttons. And I've given away several of them. So I was finding pictures on my Instagram is how I count all my finishes. I usually use that as kind of like a journal to show all the things I've made. And I know there were at least 3 others. I think I gave one to Kristen and maybe to Becky, or I'm not sure. But I had 4 or 5 of these. And the other thing that I forgot to bring up, I made perpetual Valentines that were pockets with embroidery of all of my family's names on them. So I had my husband and my 4 kids, and I made little notes that I slipped inside of the pockets. I'll insert a photo of that here. I messed it up initially. I had to like cut out the names and glue them onto the pockets, but they turned out so cute. And there's enough time if you want to try something like that. It was a really sweet kind of perpetual Valentine that I can add to this year, and then they can save that and take that with them someday when they have their own home. So those were some Valentine finishes. I don't know the final count on those. There might have been like, with the 6 Valentines, there were about 10. So those were the ones I had left off. The next thing I made was a freebie from Melissa from Pinker and Pumpkin Quilting. I use her designs quite a lot. This was a little peep in a crock. And I changed the date. I think she had an 1860 date on there. I used 2021. And it's just such a cute design. I kind of changed the flowers a little bit, and I made up my own flosses. I'm pretty sure I tweeted a floss because it's hard to find a good yellow in my mind for Eastery things. I don't want it too mustard. I don't want it too bright. So this was kind of a fun solution. And then the little guys at the bottom, I thought that was so cute. I think she does other designs like this, like a pumpkin and maybe a Christmas one. There's quite a few with these crocks. So if you search on her blog, you can find it. And then I just backed it with some wool. And I think I over dyed. This is one of the first times I tried over dyeing quilting fabric. I dunked it in instant coffee or RIT dye and made it a deeper color, and I was really happy with that experiment. And I dyed this Ada myself too. That was just a aqua Ada. So that was a fun Eastery finish, along with this embroidery piece I did from Hudson Holidays. Oh, and I just knocked out one of my French knots. I'll try to put some more glue on that when I display this in the springtime, but I just realized I tore that out when I was pulling it out of storage. But it was a simple little embroidery with some satin stitches and a little, just a running stitch around it. I liked that I did a tufting on this. I've never done that before. I think that's a fun idea. In the right design, it works kind of cute. This was an old cotton napkin that I had and some sari silk that I dipped in the same dye. You can tell this is the same dye, but it takes so differently to different materials, to silk and to cotton. So a cute little peep. And then the third pillow I made was a little more grungy. This is a rabbit. And if I didn't say, these are Hudson Holidays on Etsy. I really like her patterns. I've done probably 3, 4, 5 of them. And just simple little designs that you can stitch or that you can trace and then embroider. And so there's some lazy daisy stitches, and like I said, she turned out real grungy, but I thought she was really cute. And there's a little button and some tan ribbon. I thought she had some lace too, but 2 different ribbons, and then the overdyed quilt fabric on the back, along with these cute little peep bunnies. Oh, one more peep. I'm only counting one of these, even though I made 3, because I haven't quite finished all the others. There's an embroidered face on here with some crazy yarn that I sewed inside of this wool. I laughed because I thought it looked like a chicken nugget. But I thought it was just a fun little peep, and in a tiered tray. They were really cute. There's 3 of them. I need to finish the other 2's faces though, so these guys are just a little fun thing I made up just on a whim. So that's my last peep, but I have some beautiful rabbits that I will insert a picture of here. I use the same antique box that the snowmen are in, except I put a bunch of carrots around, and I really love the way those rabbits turned out. They were one of my favorite things I made this year, and they are from Liberty Creek Primitives as well. They have sales from time to time, so check back with their Etsy shop. But those rabbits were made from drop cloth and overdyed quilt fabric that I'd found, and just some scrap lace and sari silk, and they were the sweetest little couple. I'm counting them as 2 finishes because I had to make up the man's pattern. There is no pattern for the boy, and so I made overalls for him with a pocket, and they took a lot of work, so I'm counting them as 2 finishes, but they were super fun. The other one I had, I'm going to insert a picture of. I had finished Prairie Seasons Spring. I've finished 3 of these seasons. I'm not going to get the 4th one done, obviously, today. I haven't even picked it up yet, but I'm hoping to next month. And I finished it on the little red window, so I'll insert a picture of Prairie Seasons here. I just realized I forgot that downstairs. I also finished a punch needle. I almost had an avalanche, so I had to stop and regroup. I had all my framed pieces together, and I didn't want any to get damaged. So this is the punch needle that I completed after all the peeps and the bunnies, and it was from Teresa's Primitive Treasures. I did 2 punch needle pieces this year. I intend to do more next year. I've already got 2 that are in the works, so I'm excited to share those with you. But this was used from Valdani threads. I brightened the pattern to, it was kind of a stone color, more like this wing. I made it a brighter blue because it goes with a piece of blue willow, and also some of my bird fracture pieces that I showed you over the last couple videos. And I ordered this board from Teresa. It came a little bit crooked, but she sent me another one to say sorry for that mistake. And I'm just learning how to finish punch needles. This is probably the maybe 3rd, 4th one that I've finished. So I had to use some twine kind of wrapped around the edges because my edges weren't very square, and I was having to try to compensate for it, but it worked out okay. And I used some pearl cotton from my Aunt Ruth. This was the first time I've ever worked with pearl cotton, and it worked really well. I really like the way that this turned out. I think it's so pretty. So, and it matches those other samplers so nicely, and it's so much quicker to do that. So that was one of 2 punch needles I did. It's called Bluebird Fractor, and it is on Etsy with Teresa's Primitive Treasures. The other one I made was a cross stitch, and this is a Barbara Anna piece. I've done several Barbara Annas this year, maybe 3, 4, and I converted this piece. I had intended to do this for a long time, and it sat in my whip pile forever, but I finally got it finished from Strawberry Time. It's in Punch Needle Primitive Stitcher magazine, and it's charted in colors that are like really pretty. They're more like pink and orange, but I don't really have those colors in my home, and so I wanted to do it in an Americana finish. And she's a big pillow. I almost framed her, but I decided I wanted to stuff her with, I think I put some heavy like beans and rice in here. It's not even just rice. It's very heavy and bulky. And I love the way the finish turned out with those little embroidery stitches there. And this is, I think, Country Redwood and Crimson by Weeks Dye Works. And then a navy blue DMC and a couple of greens, maybe 3011, 936, something like that. I think this is so cute though. And I have some Lady Dot ribbon here and a Rusty Bell, so, and some buttons. One of my favorite finishes for sure. Along the same time period, I did a Christmas ornament. This must have been in July. So I had done one other ornament. I'll show you all the ornaments at the end though. So I did a couple in July, but I'm going to show you those at the end. I also did a memento for a trip that we took to Broken Bow, Oklahoma, which is Bigfoot country. They have a festival there, and apparently there was a sighting. I changed Paulette Stewart's, this is Bigfoot Bunch, design quite a bit to reflect Oklahoma, nearby where we live and where we're from. Or my husband, I'm from Kansas, but I claim Oklahoma too. And they have a bunch of more like piney woods and blackjack oaks, scraggly little things. And so I did some free embroidery there. I tried to mimic some stitches I found on Pinterest. It wasn't perfect, but I think it is more unique to my memory. And with that, I came up with the idea of kind of combining some of my scrapbooking hobbies from the past and putting these photos. There's my mom and my brother in front of a Bigfoot statue. They went with us in 2018, and then we went again in 2021. We rented a cabin, and it was so fun. There's lots of fun things to do around there with like float trips and fishing and hikes, and they had a giant outdoor maze. It was really hot, but we did that too. And there they are years later. So I hope to repeat these photos kind of as a tradition and just keep them in this little pocket. This would be a really cute idea. I liked this too, to maybe give as like a baby gift with some baby, mementos in the back, maybe the footprint or some other things that you could just make as a cute little memory, or a wedding gift or birthday gift, maybe with a friend, some memories that you share. So a cute little pillow, and that velveteen turned out so pretty on the back. That's a Bigfoot Bunch. I also did a summer whirly gig around the same time. I have all of these now, but I've only stitched one so far, so they're very quick. You can do them in a day or two. And I found this mirror at Goodwill. I think I'm only going to finish this one on it though, because I think I'd rather have a maybe more of a stand-up piece. I couldn't find anywhere on the wall for this, is why I say that. But I thought it looked like a sunflower, and so I stained it dark and put a little ruffle because it was still showing through the back. And I made that piece out of a mustard colored linen from Hobby Lobby, which is really fun. So just a cute little farmy summer piece that I put out with my sunflowers. In fact, we're kind of going to transition to those in just a minute. I also did a couple of Raggedy Ann pieces that turned out super cute. I sewed, I think, 3 different dolls this year, and the Raggedy Ann one was my favorite, the first one. Here's the embroidery I did though, again from Hudson Holidays. And she had a little daisy in her hand with lazy daisy stitches and some satin stitches for her pants. And this was my favorite thing. I tried doing a ruching stitch that is on Vanna Pfeiffer's channel for Twisted Stitcher. And I tore some denim, just some scraps I had, and then you zigzag up and ruche it. And I thought that turned out so cute for a Raggedy Ann. It was perfect. So she went with her little doll that I made in a display with my, I want to say I had one other thing in there, but I can't remember what it was right now. But here's Raggedy Ann from Chestnut Junction. She's designed as a kind of froggy girl. She has a little frog that she comes with that I'm going to make sometime, and then like yellow dress. And I thought she would be cute as a patriotic Raggedy Ann. So what I did was just change her to where she was more in like a denim blue, and then there's that French General fabric again for her dress. And I found this primitive flag at one of my favorite boutiques in town, and I thought that looked really cute. It's kind of big, but so is her head, so it works. And then this was the first time I've ever tried to work with wool roving. I used just a bunch of twists that I pulled. This roving was from Hobby Lobby, and it's called Rust, but it looked really reddish to me. And you use a just a little straw. You use a 3-pronged felting needle. It's very, it may be more than 3 prongs. It might be like 5, but it's very sharp. And you just stab the wool into the muslin body that you sew. This pattern was like $2. I mean, they're just so cute. And I actually made this twice on a different scale. I wish I had done it at the same size. I might do another one. I think this pattern is just adorable. So I painted her face and kind of put some ribbons in her hair. So she worked out really cute with this little Raggedy Ann here. And I might add one more for my display next year. We'll see. So those were fun. I also did some, I don't have one with me. I also did the beginning of the Joyful World sale. I kind of had a beachy window display with my leggy swimmer from a couple years ago, and a flamingo piece that was from Joyful World Sal. It's an annual 12-month free stitch along that I'm going to be working on next year. I did start with July, but I made it June because my June display had like beachy things. And so that was one that I made, and I'll have to insert a picture here because I'm not sure where that is. I think it's in the bag with all the others that I'll be doing. So I may have shown it in my whip parade. But anyway, I did that one. And then I started this celebrations series from Kathy Hopperman, the hands-on design. And I admired it for a couple years, and then I thought, well, I don't know if I have time, but it's so small. It's under like maybe 55 by 55 stitches. And I love these little drawers from Hobby Lobby that you can get in the floral department. I used a styrofoam cube from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to change it up a little bit so that I can just make this a flat piece that just magnets on. I hadn't done that yet. I just have it pinned temporarily, but this will be the piece I display all the 12 months in, and I'll be starting January, probably within about a week or so. And it's of a cute snowman, so the brown goes with everything. There's June, it goes with my beach display. And then I also did a honey jar from Stitching with the Housewives. I had done the cup with the bee scap in it, and so this year I did the sunflowers. And my stitching was not great. I don't remember what was going on during this time. I think I was either traveling or things were a little bit crazy with my mom being ill. That's what it was. Yeah, I was trying to do this while my mom was still in the hospital and didn't have a lot of time left. So not my best stitching, but I do like the sunflowers. And I used this block. It used to be all this color, and it had like a skyscape on it of like glittered buildings. Not anything I would want, but I think I got it for like maybe $1.50 on 90% off or something. So it was a cute display, and I'll just leave it like this all year long. So there's the honey jar by Stitching with the Housewives. I also did the Prairie Seasons Summer, and I'll insert a picture of that. The display for those is great because it keeps the same bow and the same window, and I just pop off the spring, summer, and autumn. Those will have to be inserted with a photo. The next one I finished was a larger display. It had multiple parts to it. I wanted to make some sunflowers to go with this sunflower garden by Sub Rosa. I printed off the pattern in 2020, and I didn't get to it until this summer. It was a fair amount of stitching. There's quite a bit of dress and flowers and the fence and stuff, but it's not terrible. And I haven't ever seen a finish quite like this. Maybe it was from someone's, probably more like Priscilla's idea with attaching things to wreaths, but I used like a stick from a paint stir that goes down into, or no, it was a upholstery you know, tool that's like a long stick that's pointed, and I sandwiched some layers of cardboard and then the mat with the stitching, and I stuck it down into the floral foam here. So it's held up pretty well. It has a little tiny bow at the top, and then these were sunflowers that I got from Prims by Denise on Etsy, and I made them with more layers than she had called for. I sort of tweaked them because I've made so many of them over the years. This is like maybe the third batch I've made, and they're a little bit brighter. But I thought that was such a cute display in my kitchen window. It's with the honey jar and with a few other things that were sunflower related. So that was one of my favorites of the year for sure. I also did a pumpkin embroidery around this time. I think we're moving into the Halloween things. I start sewing pumpkins in about September, and I just love it. This was intended to be a pillow. I have another one I did the year prior on the same tea towel from Hobby Lobby, and with Dahlia getting into everything, my puppy, I decided I would wait to make these into pillows, but it turned out really cute. There's a little cat under a bench with some pumpkins, and I have some different running stitches and just mostly outlining. I might go in, I had used crayon on the last finish. In fact, I will because I want them to match. I'll go in with some crayon and some wax paper. I can't remember the complete process. I think it involves a paper towel. You color it in with the crayon, and then you set it with an iron with a paper towel on top. So the cat will be black, the bench brown, and then the pumpkin's orange. And I'll make these into a set of pillows for when my puppy calms down, and she's getting better. She is, slowly but surely. So that was an embroidery piece, one of only 3 that I did last year. I also did a Halloween rules piece that, like I said, it's as big as that one in the far corner, if you can see that, on a picket fence, and I just loved it. I love the way it turned out, and it was really cute. So I have the tingles, and I will have jingles eventually to do, so I'll have kind of bookends on my mantle, but I'm not going to be starting those this year. I needed a little break. They take a long time. There are 12 different patterns. I added a 13th on the Christmas, just 12 for the Halloween rules, but I'll insert a photo of that here. The next thing I did was my last punch needle of the year, and it took me a long time to really get it where I wanted it, because I converted this Reverend Gordon squash bottom from cross stitch to punch needle. He's a lot of solid stitching, especially the house and the pumpkin, and I thought he would be very simple to do in a punch needle because it's just blocks of color. And so it took me a while, though. I had to remember that things have to be mirrored. I know I did that backwards the first time I did it and was like, duh, it has to be switched. And so that was irritating. I ran out of thread on this house, and I ended up kind of feathering in 2 colors. And then my points, I had found this frame in my mom's stash. Absolutely loved it. It was all painted solid white, and I changed the colors and realized it had that carving on the sides that I thought was so pretty, and so it needed to fit in this frame, and I had to readjust the points on the edges like twice, maybe 3 times, and I still didn't get them perfectly, but it was a learning experience, and I do like the way it turned out. I'm glad I have it. So it started my pumpkin head people kind of collection going there. I'd already had a couple, and so that made for a nice addition. I also did a wool applique, which again is in another box. I'm not sure where, but I'll insert a picture of my penny paws wool applique. There's cats in a circle. The original design is for a large like table mat, and I wanted it to fit on a metal display that I got from Etsy from Farmer's Attic, and I only did, I think, 4 cats instead of like 6 or 8, however many the large design had, and they turned out so cute. In fact, the aunt of the designer contacted me and said, did you know she does a puppy one too? And so I might do that one eventually. It's called Penny Paws though, and I found it on eBay. I think you can just search for the design though, and it's available. So there was my wool applique that I don't have right here. I also did a little autumn witch from Sub Rosa. Yeah, this is all Halloween now. there's a series of these 4 little witches with on a broom. They carry different things like a strawberry, a bunny. I've done the bunny, and then a snowman on the Christmas one, which would be really fun to do, but I just didn't have time on this go round. But she had been in my whip pile for a while, so it was just a day or so to finish her. And I like the way she turned out with this kind of eyelashy yarn and just some polka dot fabric. And I don't think her bell works, but there is a bell there. So that is Autumn Witch by Sub Rosa. Free on Pinterest is where I found her. And then my Lizzie K, I Can Drive a Stick. I had a whole story about why this one was kind of an inside joke for my husband and I, but I'd always thought it was cute. So it kind of has some more of the raw silk here. I didn't iron it at all. It's just kind of grungy. But I used a Threadworks stitch called, I think it's called Green Iron. I don't know why it's called green, because it's not green, it's black and blue. I also used that on the drum I've just designed and showed you last video. And it looks like I stuffed it with sawdust. So that was part of the display with the Autumn Witch, and they're kind of finished with similar colors. And then I also made a Raggedy Ann witch that did not turn out as well as I'd hoped. She had a little bit of a mangle from Dahlia as well. She's super tiny. I don't know if you can see. Here's the difference between, this is the pattern and I reduced it by half. And so I had a really hard time getting these little tiny things to turn, her little feet. But she is cute. She has, you know, crazy purple hair. Dahlia chewed the whole wig off that I had punched in with that needle applique tool. And so it's never quite been the same since, but I do like her little hat and I do like her polka dots. So she sits cute in the display in my little tiered tray with all of these little purpley witchy things. So that was fun to do. And a little bit frustrating, but that's okay. I've learned how to do some repairs. And it looks like I'm on to my next page, almost done. I also made, oh, I don't have it here. I made a little tiny pillow. I'll insert a picture from a Barbara Anna piece that was a freebie on Cyber Stitchers online. And I didn't do the whole design of this kind of weird looking reading witch. As much as I like reading, I just did the little corner jacks with a black hat, and that was really fun to do as well. Let's see. I don't see my pumpkin head. See, my list is already finding some holes. Around the same time that this giant pumpkin head finish from a scarecrow pattern, I believe the designer's called Sticks and Stones? Oh, I'll try to print it here if I can find it. But I had made this scarecrow with a traditional like hat and a traditional face that I sold, but I wanted to make one with a pumpkin head. And so this is my pumpkin head, long-legged scarecrow. And I thought he turned out really fun. He sits up on the mantle and he has like a little stick for a head. And then this crow I made as well. I grunged up his outfit with instant coffee, and these are just Walmart fat quarters I had, and an old skirt that I got from the Goodwill. It still had the hem, so I didn't have to do that, and some patches, and he turned out super cute. He's very large. He can also hang if I wanted him to, but I liked him on the fireplace mantle with my other pumpkin head finishes. So he didn't make my list, but he was around the same time. And then we get to some bigger samplers. I had so many smalls in the beginning part of the year, partly because it was just a terrible year for me. I had so much challenges with being so ill in January, taking almost 6 weeks to recover. And then my mom's cancer coming not much later than that, and heart problems and hospitalizations, and losing my mom. I stitched along as I went, but I didn't have, you know, the big finishes, and that's okay. Some years are like that. But I did have a couple of big finishes and ones that I really, really love. So here's Sally Spencer. She was out of print chart that was shared to me by Olivia of Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, and she will be going to another friend on Instagram. I'll be getting to the post office next week. So this was a lot of fun to stitch, and I kind of have my family of origin on here, my name that I went by as a child for just 1 year, Cindy Herbal. And then I had my brother and my dad and my mom's initials. So I really like this design. I painted this frame myself, framed it. It's very tight. It didn't quite fit the way I wanted, but it didn't cut anything off, and so I just kept it. I might swap it out if I find something better, but probably not. So Sally Spencer was finished, and then I also did my favorite finish of the year and the largest finish of the year. Even if this was all I finished, I would still be so proud for this, because this one took me over 2 years and just a whole lot of work. It is All Creatures Great and Small. Many of you have seen it. And I used 40 count, which is not my favorite linen. It's a little bit small for me. I found this antique frame. It was painted white, and I stained it dark, and it fit like a glove. I can't get, someone said, how did you find an antique frame to fit that? And it was just luck. It was just meant to be. So I am so happy with how she turned out. I had anchor floss, like I said, and I changed things to red instead of pink. So the flowers are darker, the barn is darker, and there's lots of little dark red spots around. I put on my Instagram how that changed this design. It really did. But subtly, it's still just however you do it. It's so cute. DMC, anchor. I've even seen silk conversions. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work though. That hill alone is just behemoth. But I love it. It's my favorite thing I stitched this year. So one of my favorites I've ever stitched. So there is All Creatures Great and Small by Barbara Anna. And I think the same time, I finished it October 31st. Right after that, I did a little pilgrim freebie. This is like my third primitive hair freebie this year. I didn't realize I'd done so many. This is on her blog, and it just says, give thanks. I used some of my friend Frankie's flosses from Wicked Stepmother. I liked that variegated leaf floss so much that I wanted to see how it worked, and it was great. And then I just used some DNCs, and then the color on her apron is a natural one from Frankie as well. So they're a little Oompa Loompa-y because I used the same color as the skin on my Adam and Eve, and I wish I had lightened their skin just a little bit, but it's okay. Maybe they were a little bit hot or something. But I had that on, I think on that same silver tray I did the snowman on, so it worked out cute. And then I also did a Barbara Anna finish right around the same time. I didn't finish it till later, but this was another favorite of the year, this Santa Dove and Key. And I like it so much, I think, because it worked out so well on this change of fabric. It's charted for like a tan color, but I think on the Sea Lily fabric by Witchelt, it really stands out and it's just so pretty. I still kept it kind of primitive with the natural fabric and the raw silk and the kind of jute twine, so it still has a kind of more prim feel, but it's kind of fancy too. So my two favorite things. I think I have maybe just a couple more here. Ornaments, that's what I'm missing. Let's see, I had one that I gifted to a guild member, and I'll insert a photo of that here. It has already been mailed to Rhode Island. I shared it in my last video. And I also did 4, actually I only stitched 3 this year. I was looking back at my last finish parade. I do these finish parades partly for me as well as you, because it's nice to go back and say, what did I finish in 2020? What did I finish in 2021? This will be my second one now. So you can go back and watch another one if you want more inspiration. But I finished the first day of the 12-day sampler by Paulette Stewart free on her blog in 2020, and then I finished the other 3 in 2021. So 4 of those 12-day ornaments are finished, and I'm going to do the other 8 this next year. I also finished the nativity berry that I just showed you, so I won't go into too much detail. You can check my last video about that. But this had been a whip for a couple years, so I'm glad to have that done. And I finished Mary String, and it looks like I need a little more glue there. It's starting to come loose, but this is on a little whiteboard, and I'm going to be doing more strings next year. So there's Mary String. And then I had created my own drum design for my friend Kristen, and many of you said that you would like to stitch it, so I will be working on getting some new software. I can't use the free Stitch Fiddle software because it makes the pattern like 8 pages long, even though it's a small pattern, and it's time. I need to get the software, so I will be working on that in the next month or two and hopefully have that ready for you by March. And then I'll insert a photo of what that drum looks like. I designed and stitched that. And then these ornaments, and that's it. And I had shown these a couple times back, not all at once, but here's the sleigh bells ring from my friend Frankie at Wicked Stepmother. I gave this pattern to 2 of my viewers, and it is on Etsy. It's a really pretty pattern. I changed the colors a little bit, but I like the way that one turned out. And then I did stitch the crab from Kissa Designs. She has a Flosstube, and this is just a really cute little pun, Santa Claus with his crab claws. My other one did not get finished. I thought, well, I'll just make them as a set for them and give them to them later, because I think I have like half of the body done. I just don't have the hat and claws. That's it. So I'll get them some more ornaments for next year. I did a VW from Kissa as well. This was part of Sherry Colorado Cross Stitchers Camp Challenge. I did that in July, and I really like the way that turned out. I changed the colors. I think it was in red, but I put it in blue for Sophia. And then I stitched this one for a class. I was going to give that to Emma, and I made that design up myself. It's on my video in July. So those were the 4 ornaments I stitched for my kids this year. Actually, 3. The other crab is not quite done, and then this one was for me, I guess. And that, I believe, is everything. So thank you so much for going through all of these fun finishes with me. I do try to finish all of the things I stitch rather than have them. This would be very overwhelming if I had, I think there were 30 something cross stitch pieces. So if I had over 30 cross stitch pieces to finish, I can see how that would pile up and just be very overwhelming. So I really encourage you to just finish as you go. Try to think of all the time you spent stitching them and how much you'll enjoy having them around your home rather than in a box. So it doesn't have to be perfect. I've been saying that for a really long time. Most of these have flaws that I can pick out. It's hard to go from being the creator to the owner of something, but give yourself some grace and you'll learn as you'll go. I look at things now and I think I could do that better now, but I'm glad that I did what I made and tried, and then you learn. So thanks again, and I hope you're having a fun celebration for the end of 2021. I hope 2022 brings new gifts and exciting things instead of so much trouble, but no matter the case, I hope you'll come along with me and continue to create. As I finish all of my videos in the book of Psalms, chapter 90, verse 17, it says, "May the favor of the Lord our God be upon us and establish the work of our hands." Happy New Year.